Hello YouTube, this is TsukiPro. How we doing? This is an anime first impression. We are looking at today the anime TsukiPro, the animation. And this one follows 4 groups from Tsukino. Solids, Quell, SoArA and Growth. Now we take that and we look at the fact that we've had TsukiPro, which featured Gravy and Priscilla. This now will have featured officially 6 of the 15 groups as a main group in some way, which I'm all for. I'm 100% all for that. So this is going to be fun. However, we do need to discuss the first episode, and we do need to discuss whether or not it passes inspection upon our first glance. Well, let's talk about it. The story starts for our first episode in March. Now it goes from March through to summer, then I believe to September, then eventually to October 4th, which is the present day as of this recording. By the time most of you see this, it'll be October 5th. It's just putting it out there. So, there are a series of time jumps from then to present day. On the day in March, it is noted that there is going to be yet another concert. But the concert is going to be at the end of the year. I'm not exactly sure the exact time for the Full Moon Festival concert in TsukiPro was around, I want to say fall winter, but don't quote me on that, because I don't know if they specify it. But anyway, so they do this thing where they do the announcement with the 4 leaders of the different units for TsukiPro. But they also included, and this could be to the detriment, but we're going to get to that in a second, the 2 leaders from TsukiPro, Hajime and Shimasugi. If you wonder why I call him by first and last name, it's because he's the one I actually remember. Sue me. You ain't going to get much. Anyway, the 6 leaders are asked to come to the offices because there's a big announcement that they're going to do. And that is, there's going to be a huge 2-day event which is going to feature the 8 groups, because we're going to include 2 female groups whose names I want to say one is Flora and the other one is Lunes. And if I got that right, I don't know how. I'm just being honest. Anyway, then again, it helps they only got 1 episode in the season, basically the first series, so what the hell. But anyway, it is announced there's going to be a 2-day concert. It's going to feature the 8 groups. But day 1 is going to feature Gravy, Priscilla, and the 2 female groups. Day 2 is going to feature Solids, Quell, Growth, SoArA. And I believe I pronounced that last one right. Now this is interesting. It's a 2-day concert. Okay? Think about that. It's a 2-day concert. So, theoretically, when they do it, they're going to have to do a 2-part finale. So if you're thinking about that, it's probably going to be episodes 11 and 12. Providing it's a 12-episode series, which I'm thinking it's going to be. At least it's going to be 12, 13 at the least. Okay, let's assume for a second that's going to be, and it's 13, and then I'll explain why that's kind of a bit of a mess in a minute. So everything goes, and Shun, because he can't help himself, basically makes like a declaration of, we're going to show you that we're better than you. At least that's the way I took it. And Shun being Shun, I wouldn't expect anything less, to be perfectly honest. Hajime didn't check him either, which was kind of funny about that whole thing. And the other four groups in the room kind of had that look of intensity, like, oh yeah? You watch, we're going to kick your butt now. To which, when I saw this scene play out in front of me, my first thought was, oh God, are they going to do the eternal rivalry bullshit? Because that's what I originally thought. That's what they're going to do. If it is, oh dear. Because, well, we'll get to it. What was interesting to me was, okay, now this meeting takes place in March, okay? They then do time skips between March to October 4th to be specific. By the time you get done by the time you watch this, and by the time I'm done recording this, by the way, it will more likely be October 5th, okay? Keeping that in mind, they're basically doing the series as if it was in real time. But what I thought was interesting about this was they're basically trying to keep it into current day. Well, okay. Because they're doing 4 groups, they also, by the way, are going to have 4 openings. The first one went to Solids because this is who the episode is based around. So whoever's going to get the next one, that'll be the next episode is based on. Also, I found it interesting that they actually did the opening using one of the groups in the first episode this time. If you remember, it wasn't until episode 3 of Tsukipro when they actually started doing the group opens. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they started with actually they did. They started with Gravi and then they went to Priscilla. So there's that to think about, kids. Before, matter of fact, the way it went, if I remember correctly, from episode 3 to at least episode 10 or no, episode 11, the odd number ones went to Gravi and the other ones went to Priscilla to try and even it out, which worked. But then again, that was eventually going to be the 2 groups doing one joint song, not 4 groups having to do a new song for their group. Do you see what I'm saying? So this one is going to be a bit more compressed than the other one was. The other one had at least 1 episode extra to tell a story. This one's not going to have that luxury. Because as like I mentioned, remember, you're going to be doing a 2-day concert. That means that probably at the end of the series, or the season, there's going to be a 2-part finale. The first part's going to be at least Gravi and Priscilla, and the other part's going to be the 4 member, the 4 other groups. Now they could completely, really go off the board and really compress down the time. And what they could do is the final 4 episodes end up being in some way, shape, or form, you know, the groups. And it's just like, those final 4 episodes are just a concert. But we don't know how they're going to do it yet. They could make it an even longer series, because I don't think we actually know the the episode length. Somebody said they think it's 12. Well, if that's the case, it's going to be an even bigger problem. Because I'll explain why. This episode was centered around solids and their group, who I haven't given you a proper introduction. We have Shiki, he's technically the leader. Then you have the mom of the group, that's what everybody calls him, Rika SoArA. And yes, I actually remember his first and last name. Yay me. Then you have Dai, D-A-I, as in Daisuke, or Daisuke. And then you have Tsubasa. And Tsubasa can be a bit of a bastard. Actually, no, he's actually a pretty cool character. I like him. But this brings us to an interesting problem. Because this was the first episode, and not even all of the first episode was centered around them. Or actually, no. It was, but it was also in a way compressed because of the way they did the time skips. You see what I'm saying? We don't really see a development from March to October. Then again, considering that they want to do it as a real time situation, okay, fine. But it also causes a loss of a chance for development, especially if you're going to be doing something like this. The first 4 episodes, let's say, go to introducing the groups. The next 4 episodes after that is 1 episode for each of the groups. Okay, fine. But let's just say it's that. So you get 2 episodes for each group, and that's like, say, what? 8? Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. So now you have, again, we're assuming it's a 12 episode series. Now you've got 2 episodes to get to get the groups have their songs ready, and then if you're going to do a 2-day concert, so you're probably doing a 2-part finale, that means that at least one of those episodes is going to be dedicated, if I'm right, to the groups that were in the previous series. I don't know what this is lately, but my whole thing is this. Now, I understand it's marketing. Well, the TsukiPro boys have been around longer, so they deserve to have, a chance in the spotlight. Fine. But if you're going to do a time crunch scenario or time jump, either way, with TsukiPro, and you're going to include the 4 groups from the previous series, well, now you've taken episodes that could have been used to further the story of, different members of the groups, and now you've compressed them. Now don't get me wrong, because I also know this. I know this from playing TsukiPro. When you play solids, when you play SoArA, when you play growth, when you play Quell's story, there are 4 episodes each, and I've actually finished solids before, just so we're clear. Okay, I did finish it. But it's a compressed story, and you're kind of hoping for more just so you can understand it better. Do you understand? Now you're giving maybe 2 dedicated episodes to each group, if this is the way I'm thinking it's going to go. So you've got 2 episodes to make sure they get this, because the thing is they have to write a new song for each group for the festival, which I've neglected to mention. That's also part of the stipulation. Alright, fine. And that's what they have to do. It's not mentioned whether or not, or it might have been, but I wasn't paying attention, unfortunately, whether or not the other groups are going to have a new song wrote for them. But it's just like, ugh. I wanted to cry because, like, it makes sense to have the groups from TsukiPro in it. It does, but they shouldn't. How do I explain this? It makes sense for them to be in it, but they shouldn't be a focus. The focus should be more on the members of the other groups. Now, because you're going to be putting a focus on them, because it's a 2-day concert and they get one, it kind of makes you wonder who's really the background characters here. It should be the TsukiPro boys. It's going to end up, if it's, they could completely, blow me away and make sure the story is top-notch, 5 stars, 10 out of 10, all that good stuff. But the way they're going about this, especially if it's being built up just from the way Sean was kind of talking as a rivalry between the two ends, it's going to cause fan division, because you're going to have people who are really huge fans of and then you're going to have fans of the other groups, and it's going to just turn into a mess. Trust me, I've seen how the last season, I was a part of how the last season of TsukiPro ended up. Is it possible that they could do something completely blow away that will make me think that, it's one of the best stories ever? Sure. But right now, it seems like a bit of a cluster. To add 8 groups into a potentially 12 episode series, that's a problem. They also, however, did mention that there is going to be a special concert that is going to feature the members of TsukiPro. That's not till next year, though. But I don't think that has anything to do with this story. This, I think, is completely separate. It's just so weird that you had the potential to really develop these characters, and I wonder if there's going to be a part of the fan base that's going to, in the back of their mind, go, remember, the TsukiPro boys are here, and they're rivals now. Because that's the only... To me, there was no other way to interpret what Shun said other than that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just... You know what? I'm going to say this right now. I'm raising my hand up that I'm guilty. Maybe I'm blind because of the fact that when I wrote one of my fanfic series, I ended up writing Gravy and Priscilla as antagonists. I didn't rate them as protags. They were meant to be the villains. So maybe, unfortunately, I'm still stuck in that thought process, and I'm looking at it from that perspective. But who knows? It could just be me. I'm not the biggest fan of what is perceived to be a intercompany rivalry. I'm not. I saw what happened with TsukiPro in Season 3 when it appeared to be, and it pretty much was, Quartet Knight versus Starish. See, whether or not people want to admit it there's going to be parallels drawn between Utapri and this show now. And newsflash, it may not end up the way we want it. Because, as someone once famously said, just like all good fairy tales, there has to be a hero, and there has to be a villain. Now, who's going to be the villain here? I've got a feeling it's going to end up being the Tsukiyuta boys. But maybe that's just me. Anywho, that is the first impressions of TsukiPro the animation. The animation's good, voice acting spot on, and I love Rika half to death already. But they have a lot to sort out as far as the story goes, and you got 12 episodes to do it. Can they do it in time? Can they make it so that everybody understands exactly what they're trying to do? Let's find out. Because like I said, we've got now 11 episodes. What's going to happen next? You'll find out with me. We have, in time, we have a lot of time left. But that time can go by real quick. So until then, my friends, good day, good night, goodbye, and I will see you now at the end of the season finales of both Sengoku Nightblood and now TsukiPro the animation. There will not be a first impressions for the Code Realized anime on Saturday. Good day, take care, bye bye.